From a surprise nomination in I'm Still Here to a first-time body horror nominee in The Substance, tons of controversy around every little bit of craft in films and whatever the is going on with Emilia Perez. Off the heels of an all-time great Oscars year, the 2025 Oscars are just days away, and today I'll be ranking every Best Picture nominee, so let's do it. Starting off the list, in 10th place for me is Emilia Perez, 2.5 out of 5 stars. This is not a good movie. In 9th place for me is A Complete Unknown, 3.5 out of 5 stars. This movie didn't necessarily live up to my expectations, but it also wasn't the worst thing in the world. In my opinion, it just doesn't flow very well. It feels like a montage of music with small little chunks of good acting in between. I think Timothée Chalamet is great. I think Monica Barbero is also amazing. And I think the overall idea of this story works well enough. It's thematically prevalent. Everything about this story works. But when you put it all together, it's just an average movie. In 8th place for me is Wicked, 4 out of 5 stars. I genuinely enjoyed this one a lot, and I had no prior connection to the Wicked Broadway show, novels, anything like that. I think Cynthia Erivo is amazing. I think Ariana Grande is amazing, but I don't really think any of the technical nominations were really deserved. I really do think Ariana Grande could win Best Supporting Actress, and if that does happen, this could boost the chances for Best Picture. I just don't really think this is going to win. And just overall, though it is a really, really fun and exciting and really long but epic film, in my opinion, it just doesn't stack up to the rest on any technical or thematic prevalence level. In 7th place for me is Nickel Boys, a 4 out of 5. I genuinely love this movie, but I don't ever think I will be rewatching it. I think it takes amazing technical swings, and it is one of the most creative films released in 2024, but at the same time, I think it goes on for just a little bit too long, and I think though it uses a lot of real-world elements absolutely perfectly, and as horrifying as it can be at times, it just drags, and I think to an extent that is the point, but as a viewer, you also kind of have to take into the pace of the film. I think the performances are all amazing, but the lead performances don't really get to shine due to the main technical aspect of the film. But again, so creatively ballsy, and on every single technical front, this is a masterclass. In 6th place for me is The Substance, a 4.25 out of 5. I've seen this movie like 3 or 4 times at this point, and every single time I think I'm gonna like it a lot more, but then after the movie ends, I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I thought it was, but not in a bad way. I will say, I feel like the Demi Moore acting nominations and wins have all kind of been an overall career thing. Honest to God, I think Margaret Qualley gives a better performance than Demi Moore here, but I just enjoy Margaret Qualley as an actress a little bit more. On a technical front, I think this movie is brilliant. It's never been more thematically resonant, and overall, it is such a well-crafted film, and honestly, an achievement to be nominated in Best Picture just because of the type of movie and the thing that it swings to be. I think the film flows very, very well, but I think that final act, maybe it's because it just gets so crazy, and I thought that was my original problem when I saw it from like midnight to 2 a.m. the first time I saw it, but upon rewatches, it's not necessarily that it's just too crazy. I just think it goes on for a little bit too long. In 5th place for me is Conclave, another 4.25 out of 5 star film in my opinion. This movie is basically Succession, but for popes, and I'll say that over and over. I think this movie is written so well. It doesn't drag at all whatsoever, yet it's so heavily based in the dialogue and the politics of it all. I think it works so well as a commentary of not only the church, but also other democratic situations going on in the world. Ralph Fiennes gives a phenomenal performance, and technically, I mean, this movie is an absolute masterclass. Edward Berger is known to just have brilliant scores in his film, and this is another one of those moments where every single time it rings, you're just like, holy fuck. In 4th place for me is I'm Still Here, a 4.25 out of 5. I finally got to see this movie recently. I got to see it in theaters, which means I saw all of the Best Picture nominees this year in theaters again. 2 years in a row strong on that. And I have a full review out now, but this is exactly what I expected it to be and so much more. I mean, my expectations were sky high going into this film because I had heard nothing but amazing things, and somehow this movie blew all my expectations out of the water. Fernanda Torres is absolutely amazing. 100% deserves that Best Actress nomination. Visually, this movie is so haunting. I love the way that it methodically sits with every single thing going on, whether it's a happy moment or a sad moment or a moment in between. Everything feels like it is taken at the perfect pace. I think it is very, very slow, but I think that's the point. I think if we didn't sit with these characters as much as we did, then it wouldn't emotionally hit nearly as hard as it did. One of my biggest complaints about the movie as I was watching it was just the fact that the dad's disappearance didn't really feel that big and that important in the story in the moment. But then when you get to the end of the film, you realize that's the point. I mean, like no one really knew when he was going to come back. And when you think about moments like that, in my opinion, and the way this film in the last 15 minutes makes you realize what happens earlier in the film in a completely different lens and different context of the people that go through this in real life, this film truly shines. One of the best films of last year. Third place for me is The Brutalist, 4.5 out of 5 stars. That intermission hit like cold water at 3 a.m. I cannot believe I got to experience this 3.5-hour behemoth of a film in theaters, and it was well worth it. This movie is absolutely brilliant. I think it does kind of lag a little bit in the second half, especially towards the end. I don't think it's able to pass time as seamlessly as it needs to, but that first half is so amazing, and the way that they're able to build up that pace, you just kind of want the intermission to end at a certain point because you just want to dive back into this story. I think the evolution of Laszlo Toth as a character is brilliant. Adrien Brody delivers one of the best performances of the year, and then visually, this movie is absolutely insane. I love the way that it's able to tell such a grand story through such a personal lens. I think the sets are brilliant. I think all of the character work is brilliant. I'm just going to keep repeating brilliant, brilliant, and brilliant over and over because this movie is the definition of that. It is so precise. It's so calculated. It was shot in such a little amount of days, but it feels like it spans so much time. I absolutely love this movie. I want to rewatch it, but it's 3.5 hours is a long time. And second place for me is Anora, 4.5 out of 5 stars. You know, as time went on, I thought I was going to like this movie a little bit less and a little bit less. Saw it originally at TIFF, and then I got to see it again on 35 millimeter. I want to watch it again for sure, but as of now, this movie still stands the test after watching all these movies over and over. Anora moves so briskly. It reminds me of one of my favorite films of all time, Good Time, and I think Sean Baker directs the fuck out of this film. Mikey Madison gives us one of my favorite lead actress performances of the decade, to be honest, and I think all of the supporting performances are also amazing. This is one of my favorite looking films of the year as well, and I think the script is just so tight. Yes, it is basic at times in my opinion. What could be one of the most basic out of my top 5 films in this ranking, but at the same time it flows so well, and everything else aids this film so well that I didn't need insane twists and turns. Everything works just the way it is, and that makes for such an entertaining film. I will also say I was quite literally shaking in my seat before watching this film at TIFF, and it still somehow lived up to my expectations. Like, I don't think you guys understand how insanely hype I was. I didn't watch any trailers going in. I knew nothing. All I knew was Sean Baker, Mikey Madison, Neon. I was so seated. But in first place for me is Dune Part 2, 5 out of 5. This is my personal pick for the best film of 2024. In all transparency, though, I don't think this movie is going to win. It doesn't have a shot at all whatsoever. Dune Messiah might have a shot, but it's also going to be going up against Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, so we'll get there when we get there. But Dune Part 2 is a masterclass in all levels of filmmaking. It came out all the way back in March of 2024, so we're coming up on a year of it being out, and I just feel like everyone lost the love and the hype for Dune Part 2, but it's always been with me. Timothée Chalamet gives a career best performance. Zendaya is absolutely amazing. Javier Bardem, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin. The list goes on and on and on. Everyone is working at grade A pace here, and then visually, this is, in my opinion, some of Greg Fraser's best work. It's like this and the Batman are up against each other. And this, I wouldn't say is Denis' best film, but he is also arguably the best director working right now, so it's kind of hard to top his other stuff. I think the way that this film is able to put us right back into the world of Dune without skipping a beat at all whatsoever, and also being able to seamlessly transition into a grander scope of the same world that we already saw. I mean, I've seen Dune Part 1 and Part 2 so many times within the last 365 days, I don't even know anymore. They literally feel like you are watching the same 2 films, just an evolution of that first film, and that is the exact thing that I wanted from Dune Part 2. So not only did it live up to my unreasonable hype, but it somehow exceeded all expectations. It has me literally drooling and foaming at the mouth for Dune Part 3. But guys, that wraps up my ranking for the Best Picture nominees at this year's Oscars. The Oscars are only days away, so let me know your ranking for all the Best Picture nominees in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.